Welcome to Magic in the Mind podcast, where psychology and spirituality intersect. Today I'm interviewing Brigitte Mars, who has recently published a book that I found to be a wonderful resource, so full of information, and I was thrilled to be able to interview her about the great book that she's put out there for everyone to have access to. So get ready, buckle in, let's get right into the interview.
Hi, I'm a medical herbalist. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I teach herbal medicine at Naropa University. And I have written 17 books, and I'm so delighted that I get to share my latest book, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health. And I just wanted to share that I've been interested in herbal medicine for, I was going to say hundreds of years, but no, it hasn't been quite that long. But since childhood, my French-Canadian grandmother was a practitioner of folk medicine. And at a really early age, I knew that this is medicine for the people. This is something that is affordable, that is self-empowering, that is helpful, that's nourishing. And when we choose natural remedies, not only can we be helping ourselves rather than just band-aiding a condition, whether it be physical or mental, with whether it be herbs or pharmaceutical drugs, it's really going to be overall health building in general.
Yes. I really loved your book. I enjoyed it so much. It was a very good and thorough look at what all we can do for our mental health and our emotional health. And your book doesn't just cover, things like depression or anxiety. It does cover those things, but, so many things, including fear, even things like Parkinson's disease, traumatic brain injuries. There are so many topics you cover in your book that are really, really helpful that I really haven't found in many other books. So I appreciated you covering such a wide span of topics in your book.
Thank you. I thought it was important to include neurological conditions right now because really there's not that much help. I mean, there's not really like a drug that's going to fix you after. It might minimize symptoms, but when we talk about like how can we rebuild, how can we nourish our neurotransmitters, how can we, really find things that contribute to our overall well-being. And, I just want to mention, I really do feel that our mental hospitals are filled with people that perhaps we could say they're mentally ill, they're cray-cray, but it might be that they have some kind of food allergy that's causing brain inflammation. Could be like wheat or gluten or dairy or sugar or yeast overgrowth. Some people might have heavy metal toxicity that they don't realize, but they're cooking their food in aluminum pots and pans. They're using non-dairy coffee creamers that have aluminum. Maybe they're using deodorant that has aluminum in it. That aluminum can contribute to mental dysfunction. It might be that people are even picking up on the fear and anxiety of factory farmed animals when they eat them. It used to be when you hunt animals and you take the life of an animal, you would be getting courage and bravery and strength, but now we're getting like, fear and just a hell life. So how could that be making us healthy and happy? So I wanted to write a book that gave ideas of things that we could take action to do ourselves. So I really was so delighted to include things like light therapy. I mean, we do know that there's this thing called seasonal affective disorder where lack of light can make people more depressed. And how many people go to work in the dark, especially in the winter, they come home in the dark, and at work they're under fluorescent lighting. Maybe they're wearing sunscreen 24/7, so they're just like really blocking the light. And then when they go to bed at night, they're having the cell phone charger and maybe the smoke alarm, the computer charger, like all this light is affecting melatonin and affecting our sleep. So for many years, I have been working not only with physical health and mental health, and because I also have studied the principles of Asian medicine, I really love that in Asian medicine, we look at that things like depression and anxiety and fear and grief, there's physical components that go along with that. It's not like it's all up here. And a real good example that I don't think enough health practitioners are looking at, if we have depression, yes, we can be depressed, but there's usually some sort of biochemical thing about it. And it could be that we need to look at the health of our liver or our thyroid. And it might also be that, um, we're depressed because, situational things happen in life. This is normal. But depression can affect someone who's like, happy in love and they've got a great job and they, healthy children and all that. But there's still some sort of biochemical thing that's going on. So one of the new things we've been learning about medicine is that many of our neurotransmitters, the chemicals that help our brains, like serotonin, for example, are made in our gut microbiome. So if we have poor digestion or we're eating things we're allergic to, or maybe we've taken a lot of antibiotics that could kill the good and the bad bacteria, that's going to affect our gut microbiome and can also affect our states of consciousness. So I really want to get people to see that the physical body can affect the mental body, and the mental body can affect the physical body.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it, and I think it's something that a lot of people are aware of now. It's maybe talked about a bit more, but I don't think enough people know about it. I think a lot of people are very involved in Western medicine, told that there's a certain way to do things and that's the only way, and it's not necessarily the case all the time. There are a lot of natural remedies, and your book does such a great job in showing the natural remedies and, like you said, light therapy and color therapy and things like acupuncture, just lots of different kinds of things you can do practically in your day-to-day life that aren't just take this supplement, use these herbs. There's that, and that's so valuable, but there's so much more too. There's just lots of really actionable, practical things I took from your book that I've already started using in my life that have been helping. And it's a really nice gift that you've just given in this publication.
It's such my honor and pleasure to do that. And, again, if someone's on medication, rather than, being judgmental about that, maybe that's what they need to do to save their life for a period of time. But while they're on that medication, rather than thinking someday I'm going to need to get off of it because I want to have a baby, or, I'm getting older and it's affecting other things. It's affecting my libido. It's affecting my, my weight, for example. There's so many things that don't even include ingesting anything. Like, for example, the colors that you wear. I love to tell people, like, use red when you want to be more energized. Use yellow when you need to do more mental stimulus. Blue is great when you need to feel calmer. Green is wonderful for being in a healing modality. And, I try to wear, sometimes we just get into like, I just wear one color all the time, but that can affect our consciousness. There's so many simple things we can do. And then, of course, if we were to go back to the year 1900, where about 80% of all pharmaceuticals were made from plants, and then, the pharmaceutical companies did not want people to use the old-fashioned medicine. There was this idea that, like, that's something poor people did before the turn of the century in the old country. We're modern and we're American, because both of my parents are immigrants. So, there was this thing about we want to be American and, get our drugs at the drugstore and not use cabbage poultice on our headache or something. And yet, a lot of that ancestral wisdom, it's inexpensive, it really works, it's not harmful. And I love to say it's been used by millions of people for thousands of years. And, even things like, what can we do to enhance our intelligence? There's this attitude that, well, we're going to get older and we're probably going to lose our memory, and we're probably going to, like, be in a memory care place, and we're not going to remember our kid's name or who our partner was. But there are things we can do to prevent that. There are foods we can eat that can help keep our brains active, like walnuts and blueberries and cauliflower and green leafy vegetables. There's essential oils we can smell. I'm really big on rosemary. Shakespeare, through Ophelia, said, "There's rosemary for remembrance. Pray thee, love, remember." And we also want to look at how toxic the media is. I mean, no wonder people are anxious and fearful and depressed. What are the shows that are on? Okay, let's make a movie about like a cannibal or a pedophile or a mass murderer or something. Like, why do they get movies made about them rather than people that might really inspire us to heroism? So one of the things I wanted to say, Alice, I hear a lot from people, they often believe that their ailment is hereditary. Like, well, my grandmother was an alcoholic, my grandfather was bipolar. And rather than only buying into that, I think that if you have a genetic tendency towards some of these either physical or mental problems, you need to work harder with good nutrition rather than say, I'm doomed to, a life of alcoholism because, it's in my genetics. Well, that means that maybe you need to take more steps so that doesn't become your story as well.
Right, right. Taking that powerlessness and turning it into empowerment. Um, your book does such a wonderful job doing that, and uh, it's so refreshing to read a book about mental health that puts the power back in your hands, and it's an important thing to do for sure.
I've always felt that we need to learn to be our primary healthcare professionals. Everything else is secondary and tertiary because, your doctor's not going to go home and make you breakfast, right? He's not going to go home and wash your dishes or clean your space. We also need to keep in mind that another thing making us sick, besides all the toxic media, is all the chemicals that are in our environment, like cleaning products, hairsprays, petrochemical products. I had a client a few weeks ago, someone I really liked dearly, who had MS. And when she came to the door, I could smell all the chemical perfume she was wearing, from hairspray to sunscreen to hand lotion to perfume, like on the next floor. And I'm just with her for an hour. She is in a cloud of those petrochemical products all the time. And that also goes for the chemical air fresheners and the dryer sheets and what you're washing your clothes with. And so those things, if you're smelling it, it's going into your bloodstream and your brain and your lungs. We're not impervious to that. So that's a really huge thing.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. I don't think a lot of people think as deeply as what they're washing their clothes with when it comes to their mental and emotional health, but it does affect it. It really does have a big impact.
Yeah, it can give people a headache. I went to a friend's apartment the other night, and it must have been laundry hour at the apartment complex, and you could just smell all of these fumes coming in to the playground where the kids
Oh,
play. It's like I wouldn't want my child, toddler, puppy dog frolicking out there. It was like 20 apartments all beaming these chemicals. So we've gotten this trust of like, well, if it's made in America, it must be good. But, look, we know that our earth is suffering. We know that our waters are getting polluted. There's chemicals in our water. There's chemicals in our food. I mean, if people have to wear a hazmat suit to spray the chemicals because it's so dangerous, do we really want to be putting that in our body? So again, it's not that hard. I'm asking for eat all the colors of the rainbow, eat all the flavors. If you're depressed, maybe you need to eat more sour food. If you have OCD, maybe you need to look at your relationship with sweets. If you're really fearful and anxious, maybe eating some more black colored foods, which are generally high in minerals, things like wild rice and black beans and seaweed. And so I'm really giving people ideas like, I bet you've never tried eating chia seeds. Try it. They're high in omega 3s. They're good for your brain. But none of this is really hard. And I think that we get into this space of thinking, I'm disempowered, I can't do anything about it. Granted, there are people who just can't do anything about it. So maybe it's their caregiver who starts, look, I'm going to, make this healthy food for you, or look how many colors are on the dinner plate. Um, So it's not really that hard. And I love dealing with the realm of it's not just take an herb and ditch your drugs, because some drugs, if you've been on them a long time, you really need to talk to a competent health professional and titrate gradually off of them, if that's what's appropriate. Again, every case is really different. But we want to think about what can we do that's building our health. And, just remember that the physical body can affect the mental body can affect the physical body. They really are intertwined. And it's really an opportunity for self-love and caring for yourself, caring for the planet, caring for your family, to take some action, because, you think it's my life, but yet, your loved ones are worried about you too. Or how good a parent can you be if you're just, passed out on the couch all the time with a cloth on your head because you can't cope? I
Yes.
meant like a watch. Ah.
There was an interesting part of your book that talked about laughter yoga, and I thought that was a fascinating. I've never heard of laughter yoga. Do you want to like kind of summarize that really quick for our listeners?
Surely, and that was really Crystal, my co-editor,
Oh,
who
okay.
wanted to add that in. But I know Crystal, and so laughter yoga. There are a lot of places that are teaching that, and the few times I've been there, like everyone lays with their head on somebody else's stomach, and it might start out by saying ha 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 ha, and then it becomes this raucous laughter. But we do know that laughter brings more oxygen into our bodies. It shakes and caresses our heart. So it's really good for letting go of tension and anxiety. And of course, there was a wonderful book. I'm not sure I remember the title of it, but there was this man who had cancer. And what he did was he checked himself into a hotel and he just watched comedies, the Marx Brothers and, Groucho Marx and all these people. And that the laughter was so healing. We know that cancer cells don't usually thrive as well in the presence of lots of oxygen. So when you breathe and you get all this oxygen, it really does help. So I can't say that I go to laughter yoga, although I did do yoga this morning, and I think we did laugh a little bit. But I'm sure if you Google it, you're going to find it, and it does seem to be increasing in popularity. And again, you could just watch some funny movies and laugh yourself.
Yes, yes. That's just one example of the many different ways you've given ideas that could help a person. There are just lots of different applicable steps. I know I keep saying that, but it's a wonderful thing, I think, to put the power back in someone's hand.
And another a simple thing that people can do is to learn a little bit about feng shui. And so I touch
Yes.
on that. Like if you're overwhelmed and every time you open a cupboard, things are falling out at you and you can't find anything and you're always late and you can't find your keys, like no wonder that's only going to make you more stressed. And so things like clearing clutter and learning some of the simple principles of feng shui and where you put things so you can find things, that's going to promote a state of calm. Another thing is, I love rock and roll. It's great for cleaning the house, but when the music is so much faster than our heartbeat, it can promote feelings of anxiety. And, in fast food restaurants, which I don't go to, but I hear they play a lot of fast music because they want people to come and go. They don't want you to hang out there all day with your computer. And so, and again, we should think of the effects of children. Maybe you're driving your kids to preschool or, elementary school, and, they're only 3, 4, 5 years old, and they're getting this dose of rock and roll in the news, and it's going into your brain and it goes into your heart. I'm sure, Alice, you've probably been to a rock festival where the music is so loud you can feel it coming up into your bones and into
Yes.
your heart. You can feel it coming into your body, but it's going into here. So, we can even take like charge, like, well, I'm going to walk in my house and I'm going to have calming, relaxing music, less than 60 beats per minute. Maybe I'm going to have a little waterfall because the sound of running water is relaxing. I'm going to write things down in my day planner so that I know what I need to do and cross things off. I know a lot of young people just like want to write it, keep it all on their phone, but I really think that having a day planner is a big game changer. And I know that insomnia is such an thing for so many people, and that can contribute to some of these mental disharmonies. So I tell people, get ready for the next day the night before. You'll sleep better rather than laying there worrying about, like, oh, my clothes are going to be all wrinkled, they're still in the dryer, and there's no gas in the car, and my partner isn't going to have like oat milk for their cafe au lait or whatever. Like, whatever you can do to be ready for the next day, lay your clothes out. There'll probably a lot less arguments in the morning if your kids have their clothes laid out. None of this like, you're not going out dressed like that. Like,
Right.
just do and start your day with more serenity. And because a lot of these ideas in natural remedies for mental and emotional health involve self-care, and people can feel overwhelmed, like, oh, when do I have time for self-care? I've got kids, a dog, a husband, a business to run, da da da. It may mean that you need to get up an hour earlier so there's time for you, time for yoga. I think taking aromatherapy baths really helps to keep me sane. Soaking in the bathtub, I don't even use that much water, but I add essential oils to the tub. And there's something wonderful and womb-like about being in the warm water that you don't get when you stand up in a shower.
Right, right. Your book talked a lot about scheduling in certain sections. I think particularly for like bipolar disorder, ADHD, schedules and running a routine, that is something I found personally to be very helpful for me. And it's another one of those simple things that people can easily implement in their lives. And it doesn't take a lot of work. It's just a simple little routine that can really help someone's emotional state.
And write it down on paper
Mm.
rather than just keeping it in here. And I know young people want to keep it all on their phone, but there's something about paper, turning the pages, crossing off what you have. So I really advocate all my students and apprentices. I say, get a day planner, and have it with you all the time. If it's like, oh, I left it at home or I left it in the car, because how many times do we feel overwhelmed? Like, oh, when is that party? Oh my God! Oh, you're all going to the yoga class, or oh, is it a potluck? Oh, it's a birthday. If you think it, ink it is really important. And just another thing about self-care, because it's really easy to say, well, I'm supposed to eat healthier. I'm supposed to take an aromatherapy bath. I'm supposed to, eat some wild food, pray, meditate, whatever the self-care things are. So something I did, and this goes along with schedules, Alice, is I made a list of all the healthy things one could do: floss your teeth, use your water pick, do a fruit facial. I did blackberries this morning. Um, so I wrote all the healthy things I could do, and then I wrote the days of the week. And what if we all strove for doing 7 healthy things a day? So at the end of the week, you've done 49 healthy things. And it might not be the same thing every day. Like, one day is yoga, another day's maybe like dancing, another day's going for a hike, another day's qigong or tai chi. So there's just so many ideas, but I find that really works because we might not have the whole day to do self-care, but we need to find an hour so that we can be more effective as a partner, as a parent, as a career person.
Yes. Those are things, like I said, are really applicable, very helpful in my own life. And it's just wonderful the way you've outlined it in your book and really put it into a step by step process and explained all of it, all the little details that you need to do. And also writing things down. I find that also very helpful. I have my notebook right here with all my notes and everything, and something about putting pen to paper is just different than typing it into a phone. I would have to agree with you on that one.
And even just like brainstorming with your friends, like you get an idea, a lot of those things just stay ideas. But if you say, no, I've got some ideas, you write them down. And studies show of Harvard graduates, half of them end up doing really well in life, and half of them, they're just like anybody else. But it's those that wrote down their goals. And just last year, I was at a rock. One of the things I asked my Naropa students to do is make a list of 100 goals in life, and they're young, so they're going to write things down. And I was at energy festival last year, and one of my former students came up to me and says, I want you to know that because of that list, I have a band, I bought land, I have a girlfriend, I'm starting an eco community, I'm putting on music festivals, because those were all on my list, and it's happening. Otherwise, well, maybe someday, which becomes never, and life can go by
Hmm.
pretty fast.
That's very true. That's very true. Another thing you talked about a bit in your book was like cold showers and things like that. Do you have any experience or anything you'd like to mention about that? Because that's something I've always heard, lots of things about, and it's very interesting, but there's more evidence to back it up, at least in my understanding, than people really give it credit for.
Well, for 2.5 years, I lived in a teepee and only took cold showers. Now, I usually just end with cold water. But you know how so many people feel really groggy in the morning? Maybe they didn't get enough sleep. Maybe they have a food hangover. It's not
Hmm.
just alcohol that can give you a hangover. It could be refined carbohydrates or eating a bowl of chips or ice cream or something. So, one technique for feeling a little more energized is to do dry brush skin massaging, shower, and I like to use some kind of zippy natural soap that maybe has some essential oils in it. I am a big fan of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. It's very tingly and enlivening. And then, so I don't take a cold shower, but the last few seconds, turn the hot water off and stand there under the cold water. And it's very invigorating. And we know that it also gives us a forced circulatory massage, because when you're under the hot water, the blood comes to the surface of your skin. You get all rosy. And then when you turn the hot water off, your blood is going to go deeper into your body, which gives you a circulatory massage. And it actually is very energizing. It'll help your immunity, and it'll help you be more tolerant of the cold weather, which we have a lot of here in Colorado.
I found your section on anger actually really interesting. There were a lot of like really good practical ways to combat anger, how to handle that and navigate it. And I think anger is one of those things that can be really stigmatized. It's seen as such a negative emotion when sometimes it's quite natural. It's just a thing that humans experience, and there were so many little pieces in that section that were really just very interesting to read about.
Well, I agree with you, Alice. It is really stigmatized, but sometimes it's anger that causes women to get the right to vote, or an end to slavery, or an end to war, because people get really, we're not going to take it anymore. And I mentioned that the liver is often associated with depression as well as anger. And so very often we can't get angry because, oh, I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to make waves. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to get blacklisted from the film industry or whatever it is. And so if we don't get angry, we can get depressed. And so I find the times that, I find myself being really angry, I'll go write a letter. I'll put it all on paper. Otherwise, I just end up telling the story over and over again. So let's say I was at the local university and they'd won an award for being a green university, and I saw pesticides applied signs everywhere. And that made me really mad. So I went home and I wrote a letter to the editor. So creativity is a way of overcoming anger. So I wrote the letter. I took out all the bad words. Sometimes you write that when you're angry, but that's not, bad language isn't going to get published, and it also will make the person who's listening to you think, I don't need to listen to this. They're just like off the wall using all these curse words. So it's good to write down what your points are and express it calmly, and find a creative way to deal with it. But if you have a lot of anger, it could even be that eating too many spicy foods or too much garlic might be making you all fired up. And so maybe cooling the energy with things like cucumbers and salad and lettuce. Um, and, I've had some stuff going on with a neighbor recently. Like, they don't like our weeds, which we eat, and they don't like our music. My partner's a musician. And I realize they were angry at us, we were angry at them, and then I realized you can't kill the dragon, you have to tame the dragon. We don't have enough weapons to kill any dragons. So find ways to how can we use our skills and our evolutionary capacity to make nice. And I think that that's really what we need to do. And so, anger, it's like rather than just being angry, what can you do? Can you volunteer? Can you be a petition carrier? Can you speak out in the media? Can you write a letter to the editor? Can you get people in your apartment complex to say we don't want pesticides sprayed, whatever it is, but put all the points down. And I think it's also important to make it so that the other person wins too. They need to also hear that they're also being heard. And we also know, like, it's good to reflect, like, I feel and I hear you saying. So little tricks like that that you learn when you do therapy or you learn when you read, good self-help books. But right now it's a pretty angry world. It's a pretty divided world. And, hopefully this is an opportunity for finding more peace and harmony.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I love that so much. I found your section on sleep so interesting, and there was a part where you kind of went into dreams and the importance of dreams. I work a lot with dreams in my practice. That's something that's very close and near and dear to my heart. And that was a really interesting section to read. Most people just discount dreams altogether, and it was really interesting to see it discussed in such a thoughtful and knowledgeable way.
Well, again, I do think that dreams are a way of cleansing the subconscious, and it doesn't mean you necessarily have to act on it. But it is interesting, and I think that, thinking about your dreams or sharing your dreams with a partner, or even writing down a few things that you remember can even help to unlock some of our intuitive gifts and help us to realize, see if there's any patterns. So I really like that idea. Sometimes we keep visiting a similar place in a dream. Like, what's that about? What does that mean? So again, it's just a way of tapping into our subconscious. So again, because I think sleep is so important, we do know that when we take sleeping pills, it often affects our dreams. And so, having a little notebook by your bed, could be helpful. And I find that if you wake up to an alarm clock, it usually chases the dreams away. It's like, the police are here. It's an ambulance. Oh, the house is on fire. So the dreams are gone. But if you could wake up more naturally, and I do think that that is a Jedi skill that you can say, I'm going to set my mental alarm for 7:30 so it goes off before the other alarm. I think that that can be very helpful. But before you do anything, before you brush your teeth or drink water or kiss your partner or say hi or whatever, I think that writing down your dreams is helpful. And even telling yourself before bed, I would like to have a dream that helps me make a decision. So I think that I've got a little notebook by my bed, and it can be quite interesting. And then sometimes I think when you really practice it, you might learn how to interpret your dreams better. There's even a phone app like, what does it mean? I dreamt all my teeth fell out. I dreamt about a big pink dog. What does it mean?
Right. And it is interesting how we kind of, once there's more reflection, once there's more looking into dreams, we start to understand them a bit. And it's really interesting how it can help you connect to yourself, your subconscious, just like you said.
Absolutely. And, dreams about water could indicate something going on with the emotion of fear in the kidneys. Dreams about fire could indicate something about our heart health or our blood pressure. So there's even ideas that our physical body could be talking to us through the dream state.
Right, right. There's a section in the book, a large section that's about that has a lot of recipes and a lot of like like different teas and how they can be used, different ways to build healthy meals. Um, I'm really interested to know where you gathered all of that information. Were those things you came up with yourself, or just from your experience?
Well, I am a medical herbalist. I teach herbal medicine at Naropa. So my life is all about herbs and plant medicine. So, right now I'm drinking hawthorn berry tea from hawthorn berries that we collected. Hawthorn. So, yeah, we live it. We really live it. And I feel like it's a way of partnering with the earth and being one with nature. It's very healing. Um, this is not why I'm drinking Hawthorne right now, but it's good for a broken heart as well as lowering high blood pressure and strengthening the contractive force of the heart. We drink a lot of nettles, but if I can give people a recipe and it's easy and it tastes good, then they're more likely to do it. And of course, we live in a time where even grocery stores will sell a plethora of herbal teas, but the herbs, they transform the minerals in the earth and make them more bioavailable for us. And so it's a really beautiful thing. And, one of the biggest travesties I feel is the American lawn. We're using a third of our nation's water to water grass, when really, if we were going to be even more evolutionary, we would learn some of the weeds that are coming up in our yards, like violet and chickweed and malva and peppermint and St. John's wort, and use them as herbal teas and medicines and salves and salad. And, the idea of eating something or drinking something that's so fresh that it was growing 5 minutes ago, you can't get that at the natural food store
Mm-mm.
or even the farmer's market. So there's this life force of imbibing, like, I'm going to go pick some dandelion greens and make a salad. Um, Even though they might sell dandelion greens at the health food store now, but they're going to come from another state and they were probably picked 2-3 weeks ago.
Right, right. I think using our own ability to, like you said, just weeds, things that grow on their own, can be really helpful and cost effective as well. You want to save a little bit of cash, pick it yourself. It makes a lot of sense.
Save thousands of dollars a year, save your health, save the planet. And, a lot of these things provide pollination habitats for the bees and
Right.
butterflies and all of that. So it's almost like we're being marketed things that make us sick.
Mm.
Toxic media, movies about murderers, junk food, and then pharmaceutical ads. That's what people are getting beamed into them all the time. So I'm presenting some alternatives that are really fun and good for you and that really work.
And one of the last things I want to touch on, I found it's not exactly an index, but there's a whole huge section in the back of the book that really goes into different plants, different minerals, different vitamins, and all the things they can be used for. So it's very accessible. I've read the book, but now I have this section I can go back to and like look at all the different things. I love to learn about plants and grow my own herbs and really see what can be used for what. And it's such a great resource to be able to tap into that, find exactly what you need, and it's so easily found in the book. It's incredibly convenient. I thought all of that was just so incredible to include and very thorough.
Well, Alice, I want to thank you because it sounds like you really have read the book carefully, and I'm very, very grateful, and I hope it helps you and your listeners. But in throughout the book, I will mention different supplements, amino acids, minerals. Like magnesium might help you sleep better, might help with menstrual cramps. Calcium might help you feel calmer. But then not everyone's going to take a pill. That's not everybody's style. But you might look and say, well, maybe I should eat more kale or more blueberries or more, cabbage or something. So I want people to have several options. For some people, I'm just going to eat my stuff and then take a pill. But again, you may eventually feel better and say, I think these ideas make sense. I am going to eat more colorfully and more vegetables. So there's a proverb from Asia that says, for every new food you try, you add a day to your life. And it's really easy to look in the back of the book and say, wow, blueberries come up a lot. Kale comes up a lot. Um, you know, Cauliflower comes up a lot. Maybe I should be eating more of those things. So It's really just an added resource because we want everyone to have as many options as possible and different methods they can tap into for being their best selves ever. So, you know, we want suffering to be lessened. We want there to be more happiness. Happy people treat other people better. You know, unhappy people often make problems in the world because they're so unhappy. So let's all do our best. We're all in this together. Let's make a better world.
That's such a wonderful sentiment. You put it so well. Thank you so much. Um, if anybody's interested in finding your book or finding you, following you on any social media platforms, are there ways they can reach out to you or find you?
Absolutely, Alice. I'm Brigitte Mars at brigittemars.com. You have to spell it that way. I'm French Canadian. Um, but I do have an online course. I have 17 books out. I have a phone app called I Plant with Brigitte Mars, where you can look up like 200 different plants and say, wow, I could eat that weed,
I didn't
chickweed, for
know about that.
example.
I'm so into that.
And then, so there's just a lot of things. I also have a lot of YouTubes and TikToks. So I'm committed. My prayer every day is to be of service to the Most High, to, you know, help the people, the planet, the creator, the pollinators. We're all in it together. Let's do our best. Let's all feel good so we can all do something.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing and putting out this wonderful resource for everybody. Um, I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you, Alice. Blessings to you.
Thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Brigitte Mars. I will have her information, her socials, her website all down in the description. You can check her out there. I hope you can learn from this book. Hopefully you feel called to look into it. It was so eye-opening for me and really, really just a wonderful resource for anyone who struggles with any kind of emotional health issues, even if it's just your day-to-day life and learning how to better take care of your emotional health. I would definitely recommend it. And that's all I have to say. So thank you all for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, be well, be kind, and may your curiosity for this world never fade.